Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Premier Madden podcast. The past couple weeks, we've been covering all the different news that's been coming out. Most recently, for Madden 20, EA Play, not E3, but EA Play came out. They did the big stream. Tons of features got revealed on purpose, on accident, just by videos. A lot of good things, maybe one or two bad things. But nonetheless, we got a lot of information, not to mention the mad scramble for beta codes that's going on right now. We don't have any, so don't hit me up for any. But joining me this week, he came on the podcast in probably the third or fourth episode. My mic, I think that was the first time my mic had crazy issues. So the whole time my mic was just acting up. So hopefully it stays clean this time and he's not a bad luck charm for the podcast. A good friend of mine, commissioner for my Xbox sleeve, Mr. Pest. What's up, bro?
What's going on, Finn? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm 2 beers in. So, I didn't tell you that before, but I've been drinking that Corona Familiar, and it's good. Nice and smooth.
I got to go grab a cup of whiskey out of my kitchen then.
Oh, geez. Get lit on the podcast. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things on the news that's been coming out. A lot of the stuff about, obviously, all the X Factor stuff, the star stuff that's coming out. So I figured I'd bring you on. You're another Madden lover like me. You get on to every little tiny thing you can see. So it's really fun to sit down and talk Madden with you. So over the weekend, I mean, the E3 or the EA Play reveal, I mean, there was a ton. We kind of got to see the RPOs function for the first time on video. We got to see some of the new equipment. Not anything crazy. They got the Jordan 1s, turf tape. I even saw not just the turf tape that we saw with Kamara last year, which is the whole arm, but also like a quarter arm turf tape. So it doesn't go all the way down. I don't know why I'm so excited about turf tape and Jordan gear and all that stuff. But it's always better to get away from the rubber pads that bogged us down for years. We talked about the Pro Bowl and stuff, but you know, what kind of stuck out to you over the stream that you watched for E3?
Definitely some good and some bad. I mean, good stuff. I love the RPO stuff. I'm an offensive guy. I'm trying to score 50 points every game, good old Burger City. So, yeah, RPOs I think are going to make that pretty challenging on the defense because you can basically just run a double or triple option, 20-30% of your plays, and it's still sin. Some of the negative stuff, I saw so many of the same animations just in the little videos that they showed at EA Play, the receivers trucking the corners and stepping over them. I saw Sammy Watkins do some of the spin moves and stuff. It's all the same. And animations are good. They definitely improved it over the years, but sometimes it just feels a little too formulaic. So hopefully they found a good balance. I love that they brought back like some of the passing animations for the quarterbacks, where in the past, you'd pick like I want Tom Brady's animation or Ben Roethlisberger or Drew Brees, and then the last couple of years, it's been generic 1, generic 2, generic 3.
Right. I'm
glad they brought back the individual players deal. It's just a immersion factor,
Right, and I think that having that flavor to each and every player is going to make replayability, especially for somebody like me. Like what I get into the cycle is after the first couple months, I don't really touch Madden outside of playing for the league. I don't do practice games. I don't do head-to-head, but there's just something to say about how balanced you said balance. And what I was thinking when you said balance was just how they really suited each style of play. As we've been preparing for the league, and we'll get into our league and some of the stuff that we've been going through and planning in preparation. I want to pick your mind on that later. But one of the things is I've been doing a lot of the prediction articles and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, well, what really fits a player in our league, and what kind of offense can they run? And it seems like this might be the year where we finally break away from everybody having very specific offenses. Last year, I could go for 75 rushing yards with Jared Goff, but and still achieve mobile quarterback things with Jared Goff, and people could take a 75 overall quarterback and dominate with that guy. Whereas this year, like, you have to pick, do I want a mobile quarterback? Because there's so many cool mobile mechanics and things that make life easier as a mobile quarterback, the RPOs, it's just a deadly threat. Or with all the new star traits, and all the things, and the hot routes for the pocket quarterbacks, like those things now make it on the counter of the mobile side. So it's just kind of there's so much balance. I'm really excited to get into the beta and everything and kind of see how that really feels. You got yourself a beta code, right?
Yeah, I got two. I got one. I won on Twitter, and then I got another invite via email from EA, and I passed that off to Ty, one of the other commissioners. So we'll get a couple commissions in there to test the game a little bit.
So what are you really most excited? Because obviously a lot of for the CFM side of the house, a lot of your guys' playing is not only get acquainted, but to really feel, to get a feel for the different play styles to see what fits you so far. And I think do you think it's going to influence your team selection a ton? Do you already have your team in mind? Based on just your style of play in the past, or are you looking to try maybe something out, or is there just anything specific that you're ready to try out?
Yeah, I mean, over the course of this will be year 5 of just Madden Monarchy and top for me, and I've had a pretty varied play style over the years. I've had mobile quarterbacks, I've had Blake Bortles. I've mixed it up this year. As far as team selection, I'm going straight for youth, always youth and speed. I don't need any certain player, anything like that. Like I'd love to follow, Jalen Ramsey or Derwin James and like have my favorite guys. But, as far as the team goes, it's just youth and speed. I'll take low overall. Like the Jets are going to be a perfect team for somebody. They're going to be low overall, but it doesn't matter because everyone on the whole team is young. And then, as far as us, we spread out. So if Corey wants to take the Bills, I can't have my Jets. So, we just work with each other to do it that way, while still having 1 through 5 picks, not including the Browns.
Right.
Shout out to Shrimp.
Right, shout out to Shrimp. And if you guys, obviously you guys don't know, but we have a longtime Cleveland Browns fan in our Xbox league, and they went ahead because the Browns are just so stacked this year. We decided because he hasn't even been the Browns at all ever in our league's history since like Madden 15 or 16. So finally he's going to be able to. We decided to gift him, not me, Pest and the commission team decided they were going to gift him the first overall pick so we can get his Browns. And we'll go in a little bit. I wanted to talk about that just a little bit later on how we prepare for the Madden cycle, what we're doing with our team selection, just so some other CMs that might be listening to the podcast and CFM guys might kind of take from that and maybe apply it to their leagues. So, RPOs were huge. I think you're right. I did see a couple animations that looked a little weird, specifically after the receivers caught the football, some weird catch ones. But, that's very limited. We only saw a handful of plays, so I'm not too discouraged by it. We did see the bad thing that's getting passed around, right, which is the offensive lineman, the center, like on an RPO, like taking off and like 10 yards down the field, engaging a safety before the ball was even thrown. I expect that to be a fixed thing. And people were saying it was like arcade mode, so a flag wasn't thrown, but it would be thrown. So that's what I brought up is I don't know if they went this deep, but I would love to see. Like, I would love RPOs to be, I wouldn't say OP, but as dominant as they are. It is the dominant offense in the NFL right now, right? We know
everybody runs that.
Right.
NFL.
Right, because of how much faster all the positions are getting. And it's just, you're not even limited, because the NFL minds, you're not even limited to having to have a Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson type quarterback. You can have a guy like Nick Foles and run RPOs. They're modified. They're very different. But I would love for them to be very powerful in the game, but I want you to have I've always wanted this importance on having smart players. You mentioned earlier you're really looking for guys that are young and speedy, and that's because the young and speedy guys aren't really affected by low IQ in Madden. But I would love to see a situation that you can't afford to have a bunch of young guys or bad players on your offensive linemen in RPOs, and you get a penalty like that. Like,
we'll see how that goes with the ratings changes. Those are huge. They said, some guys are going to have starters in the 50s and overall, and who knows if they just change the scale or if they're going to still play like 50s.
Right. And Madden, most of the MUT team is pretty notorious in the past of like rating changes, but they never really mean anything. It's not meant for the betterment of the game. It's all meant for the betterment of the profit, but that doesn't affect CFM and those things. So maybe it's different. So I don't want to be like, let's give Madden a benefit of the doubt for the 9th straight year. But at the same time, I would like to see it. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but the one thing that I've wanted for years, and you're going to call me a cheeseball, is I've always complained that I can't juke in the backfield. Like, you know,
Well,
in
you can do it now.
right. And that was probably the happiest I ever felt. I DM Mole, I DM Guru. I thanked them. I was like, listen, y'all must have listened or something to my podcast and me bitching, because seeing Cam drop down, hold the ball, and be able to make a move and then just pick it up, like, that's football. And people always say, oh, that breaks the game, or the new hot route stuff. And I've said this before, so sorry, regular listeners that have to hear this conversation again. But just being able to hot route a post, that shouldn't break the game. That should absolutely be an available hot route. Like and if they're making strides to, instead of hiding features to stop the game from being exposed, like hiding sim features to keep the game from being exposed, but instead now taking the approach to fixing why it breaks the AI, then life will be that much better. So I'm definitely interested in that. They also leaked some of the X Factor stuff for some of the players, specifically Alvin Kamara. Looks like most of his stuff is very receiving running back dominated, which makes sense. That's what he does well. Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, I'm getting a lot of texts from my non-CFM Madden friends that are a little wary about it feeling a little bit too much like NFL Blitz or NBA Street. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is a turn for the better with all the X Factor stuff going on?
It definitely has that feel with like the in the zone X Factor abilities. I think that it has a little bit of that more arcade feel, but that's okay because they're so counterbalanced against each other. You know, they talked about that in the EA play. It's like, you know, Mahomes gets his bazooka, but then Aaron Donald or Von Miller comes in off the edge and gets a sack and it goes away. And you already have to do so much to earn getting those zone abilities that I feel like they're not going to come into play a whole lot when it's a good user versus a good user. But if it's a good user versus a not so good user, it's going to feel like a freaking avalanche by the third quarter, as it's been.
Right. I think it's just another, I think it's a skill gap thing. I feel like a lot of people were expecting it to lower the skill gap, but I think it's going to increase it, because now it's going to force you on defense to address immediate issues. You know what I'm saying? You get in your cycle, you get in your mid game, and you're just like, oh, like, this is going to hurt those guys that let themselves get carved up in their 20s and then bring out the lockdown defense and stay in zone, you know, with inside the red zone. I think that's who it's going to hurt the most, because when you let yourself get carved up in the 20s, I'm looking at you, Ty, between the 20s, that's when I'm getting those Patrick Mahomes 30-plus yard throws downfield. That's when I'm getting big runs, consecutive completions, whatever it takes to get these folks and these guys into the zone. So then you get in the red zone and you're like, okay, well, I can sit in cover 2 now. And it's like, no, you can't, because now Juju's straight up one-on-one with your safety. And I feel way more confident about, and he's in the zone, you know, so I feel way more confident about lobbing it up. So now I think it's really going to force people in those key situations. And I think that's probably the biggest scenario I can think of, is just if your whole game plan is on like getting carved up in the 20s and locking people down in the red zone with the same zone, or just staying in your same zones over and over again and not adjusting. You know, when was the last time people really had to double team a true wide receiver? Like, normally, if you want to play a deep threat like Tyreek Hill or Julio deep, you just have to stay over top, and then you'll get some kind of stack the receiver on the go route and get the animation. This time that's not going to happen if he's in the zone or a star ability guy, or in the slot. You know, you're going to see Jules really mess people up now, the slot-o-matic guys. So I'm really excited, and I think it'll increase the skill gap, because it's just going to force you to have to make decisions on defense and offense when you're dealing with a pass rusher that's coming in hot, or a corner that is just guys that are just eating you up.
Yeah. There's 2 other things I think, talking about skill gap, that I think are going to have a similar effect. One you already mentioned was the QB scramble, where you have to toggle off your passing icons to run and juke and spin and do that stuff, then toggle back on. It's just like those extra really quick reaction-based button presses
Right.
are really going to affect some of the lower tier players, which are, those people are important in the league. The people who can take a L like a man and still come back and love to draft and love to just build the team and the camaraderie of hanging out and chat and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully, you don't see those types of players getting discouraged. And then the other one is the user linebacker changes. I think someone said it in our chat, but P-Town, he's always like user in the safety and Tony as well. I think those guys are going to have a pretty big advantage this year because there's so few linebackers that are going to have the user abilities like we've seen the past decade, that it's going to be a tough adjustment for a lot of people to learn how to play safety.
Did you see what I said? Right. I don't know if this is 100% confirmed, but I heard through SGO or the Natural Sports Gamer Online when he was at EA Play, he said the only two in the game are Bobby and Luke.
And that should be. Oh, well, maybe in Deion Jones too. He got slighted a little bit.
That's the thing. Yeah, I wonder if there's maybe a midway, and maybe I don't know if that's like and I don't have confirmation if that's like their zone ability. Is that
Right.
that catch, or if that's just a part of their star, and if that's earnable or whatever the case may be.
We'll find out tomorrow.
So and it's the game. Yeah, the game's not completely over. Well, can you even play as any of those two teams? Nah, you can't play nor can you see ratings. I don't think.
Oh,
So
man, sucks.
So you'll find. I mean, and
Find out in July.
Yeah, find out in August, July. Yeah, July when they release ratings. So another thing you didn't mention that, and I was really excited to see how they were going to do this, which was the pump fake. They brought the pump fake back, which, as long as it goes quickly. I mean, so I was always wondering how is that going to truly affect a user defensive player? Like, okay, it can affect a safety, a cover three safety deep because I send two streaks, pump fake one and go at the other or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Moving an AI player. How do you introduce a tool and have it effectively move a user linebacker? Because most guys aren't watching the quarterback.
Right. That's what I was about to say is I'm not watching the quarterback. I'm watching my zone. I'm watching the receivers. I'm watching the route combo to see where the next guy's going to come from that I can, bait the offensive player. I think it's matter a lot more versus CPU. Where they're worried about a double move against a cornerback or something like that.
But did you catch what happens? Because it's perfect. I didn't even think of it, but it's perfect.
No, I didn't see.
So that reticle that appears when you throw the ball, like the orange reticle on the ground that shows orange yellow. So whenever you pump fake a receiver, that reticle shows up by that receiver as if you were throwing it. Yeah, and that's like the goats. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll just catch it in your eye, and it'll make you react just because it's. I mean, it's pretty much exactly what a pump fake would be, right? So I saw that in the stream, and I was really satisfied. I was like, well, that will make somebody move for sure and open up a passing lane. So more than ever, we're going to see offensive line be truly matter since they're kind of ramping up pass rush, and especially if you're going to want to have a truly pocket passing offense where you can do those pump fakes and have the time to do that. That would be important. Also, not backing up so much. That's one of the things they mentioned is there's a big penalty for actually backing up and throwing pass. The thing is, if you back up too far, the receiver icons disappear.
Yeah, I think that's a good change. I think they tried to do something similar where they put in like an accuracy penalty or something last year, but it really didn't affect it very much. People still drop back like crazy and, throw 30 yards down the field like it's nothing. But so hopefully it works out. The pump fake, though, it's going to be kind of nuts. It's another skill gap thing, the quick button press where you can, if you throw that slant, but you see the user coming in, you double tap it right away, and then you get to cancel your pass because you realize you made your mistake,
Right.
The guys who can do that are going to be in a really good shape from a turnover standpoint.
And I'm always on board for real football things that come in and create skill gap. True skill gap. And then I say that, and then I go 9-7, and then I'm a fraud. I told Danny that. I was like, when we found out about Madden 19 and some of the features, we were just as hyped as we were now. And I just remember telling somebody in DMs like, "Oh, now all the scrubs are going to be, this is where the good players come out." And then of course, like everybody found out about the spin. So, do you have any like anticipated things that are just going to be OP now? I wasn't told what it was, but I was told that there's something to do with running that the devs were hitting people with when they were playing a EA Play. So
like running the ball?
Yeah, there's just something, you know how like we had dive bounces and we had stretch in Madden 17 and we had swerve running in 18, sorry, swerve running in 18, stretch running in 18, and then spin moves last year, and dive bouncing. He said that there was something, I never got it from him, or I didn't check the chat to see, but he said that there's something. Do you have anything in your mind based on the features that you've seen so far that you think is going to be the cheese, or do you feel like it's countered pretty well?
Man, I just think it's the RPOs. I mean, when you have the ability to change your play mid-play based on what you see is open, and you're just always going to be able to do it right as long as you make the right read, like
Right.
that's going to be nuts, man. I'm going to score 50 points every game.
You,
People like Danny, especially, like someone who doesn't make mistakes, God, it's going to be impossible.
right. I think, but skill gap. That's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. It's skill gap. Now, instead of gimmickiness, it's truly a situation. Now, it's a situation where if you can make the right read and right call pre-snap, post-snap against the defense, then cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be rewarded for that. This shouldn't be oh no, example. If you see him running that same slant, RPO, use of the damn DN and bounce into his lane. He's going to snap the ball pre-snap, looking for you to be on a linebacker. You're on the play side DN. Then he's going to panic, and maybe he hands the ball off where he would have had a throwing lane if had you not been there. It's going to require you to put yourself places, like you mentioned with P-Town and Tony in our Xbox league, which is the user the safety. And for league, and I mentioned this, like the PlayStation League, the Premier Madden League, they allow safeties to play sub linebacker. So it's kind of a non-issue. So I think the meta for us in that league is going to be get yourself a run game. Get yourself a run game. Because when they bring those safeties in the box to play sub linebacker on nickel, just run. If you see nickel, run the football,
Yeah,
versus
nickel formation.
Right. Versus our league, which is we don't allow safeties and DBs to play sub linebacker. It has to be linebackers. So now, like that, the passing trajectory stuff plays a little bit more of a role into everything. So let's move on to what I think is the real catalyst for all of these changes, and that's been face of the franchise, the whole QB1 thing that's going on. Really, football starts and stops at quarterback play, and I think that introducing this feature in lieu of long shot is the reason why pump fake came about. Is they just wanted to make it more immersive, because if they would have done this face of the franchise and the whole thing was like, what is it, quick time events, where it's just a button comes up and you press it and then the action occurs like they did on long shot, it would be like the biggest flop ever. But it looks like it's going to be a little bit more intense. What are your thoughts on that and what you've seen so far for face of the franchise?
Yeah, long shot was awful. I think everyone can agree on that. So pretty stoked that they replaced it just with anything. I like it. Kind of gives me that NCAA 14 vibe. You like get to create your player and play through the last couple games of college, or in the NCAA case, it was last couple games of high school, and then get drafted or get recruited, and then you get to go in and just start your career. I think that's pretty cool. It's going to give people some stuff to do outside of just like running their solo CFMs or wasting their time playing mutt and driving that EA wagon. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I love that you get to pick your college. I went to FSU, gigantic Knowles fan. That's like my life. So the fact that you are allowed to play with Florida State is going to be pretty fucking sick. I like that it's scenario based. You have like objectives to hit every game of how you're going to like progress your player, where you can't just go out and throw bombs all game, every game, and expect to be able, to do well. And honestly, that's most of what I know about it. Other than you can only be the quarterback. I have, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I've taken a couple of months just kind of away from video games in general, but especially from Madden, just to get away from that like grind of running a league and doing it every day and being super, just to like refresh and reset and be ready to go and do all those things that it takes to make a league run right.
Right. Like I'm looking at my desk. My Xbox and PlayStation are clean off my desk. They're completely unplugged. I have a PlayStation code. I'm still debating if I'm even going to plug it in. Like I don't even have the baby for the week. The wife works all Saturday, all Sunday, and I'm still debating if I even want to do it. Like obviously, in the Madden 20 hype is real, but it's just like I've been so damn productive, dude.
Yeah.
Like getting away to Nashville with you guys, and just so you guys know, me, Pest, and some of the other guys in our league, we went to Nashville for the NFL draft. Like getting away from gaming this last little bit of time has been fantastic, and I think it's good to come in refreshed. I find myself once again excited. Now for Face of the Franchise, I can see myself not playing Face of the Franchise past month 2. And that has nothing to do with the features. It has everything to do with I've noticed whenever I play in the leagues, I tend to play really well when I get on every day. I grind some head-to-heads. I just play against folks. I just get the sticks moving, get in gear, practice some plays that I know are good, get used to reading defenses, picking kids apart head-to-head, and then play my game. And that's when I'm really doing well in the league. That's when I made the Super Bowl with P-Town. But then I find myself when I get bored, right, with Madden a little bit or whatever other games I'm playing, I'll make an offline franchise and I'll do something stupid. I'll take like, what if Zion Williamson played receiver? You know what I'm saying? Or a lot of the time I'll do whatever the most, like I've done Lamar Jackson before. I made Tua. I made Kyler Murray, and I like do their career. Like get pick a random team and I get drafted and then I play with them, but I'm playing the AI, and then I notice my ability to make reads in the league just goes down so fast.
You start to get screwed by that user.
And it's just not even so much the user, because I've played so much against folks that user linebackers. Really, it's just getting into the rhythm of those kind of plays that like they don't play like I was playing as Kyler Murray. Out of the 7 hours I may play a week, I was playing 5 of them as Kyler Murray, 2 of them as the Rams from last cycle, which is completely different playbooks with different play style of quarterbacks. So like just spend hours and hours. Just my bailout was to run. My bailout was to do this play, and then it just doesn't work with Jared Goff. I'm wondering why I'm struggling so bad. And I think that's why. So I can see myself using Face of the Franchise to get used to the features and kind of get those down the memory and then moving away. But that being said, I am pretty excited about it once again because it is a little bit more immersive. It's always fun playing a story mode. And I think it's going to – I would love to see – and this, might be getting into a different topic for another day, getting into something where it was more team related, 3v3, 5v5, where you could just pick up with the boys and play. Like that's just the most fun. And every EA sports game has it except for Madden. Every other sports game, you know what I'm saying? And that's not even close. So we know the technology's there. But to come in and to try the different styles out too, real early and see what it's like just to play and have to throw yourself into some scenario situations and make reads. And I don't know, it's fun. I do wish it was other positions as well. I've always been a fan of playing defensive back, corner, and safety. So maybe it'll get to that. I know it's not there, but we're building the immersion. This is some of the immersion that didn't happen. I think we're all kind of misremembering those previous Maddens a little bit. I don't know how you feel. Like, yeah, it was cool that we can go like get my haircut at the barbershop and hire an agent and do the combine and stuff. And that's kind of back. And I know we always criticize Madden for bringing features back. I will say this. I believe this is the first game under the new management. First full game created under the new management, and it's been really, really positive so far. And this game mode compared to Long Shot is just miles better. So if they pour things constantly into this and continue to expand it and build it, now is it going to be across one season? That would be a little underwhelming. That would be to only be able to do one season, but
I think it's career, right? It's a career.
I don't know. I know they've talked about like do the combine, become a starter, go play in the Pro Bowl, play in the Super Bowl or something like that. So I don't know how much of it, I don't even know how much of it is like you're playing the entire game, whereas it'd be more scenario based in the game. Who knows? It would be. I hope so. I hope I can play the whole game. The scenario stuff, the scenario engine stuff looked kind of cool. I am a little worried about how it would affect the 32-man league, but
for sure.
If it is kind of like what Ty wants, which is more like of a spin the wheel kind of thing, or you can make decisions like there was like from the face of the franchise, it looked like the coach was like talking to the player, and then he like was reassuring him. So like obviously, if that doesn't, maybe the team improves based on your play. If you're more of a leader, that's cool. As long as it's not like how we have now, which is, can you answer this scenario question? And you answer it, and then it does nothing. It's like +5 jersey sales this week based on your answer. Like that doesn't do it for me. But I also don't want corny lines. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't put something in there that's super corny just to put it in there. Like, have it actually affect something. I had something else on my mind. Did you have anything else for the face of the franchise? I know it's not – they haven't revealed a lot. I know it's kind of their baby for this cycle. You're obviously going to play as FSU. I'm debating. I think the first day out the gate, I'm going to the Gators, and I'm just losing that national championship by about 70 points.
You bitch.
Like, so first – yeah, dude. But I may I think USC. I think I'd like to change the way USC quarterbacks are portrayed in the NFL.
Yeah. A little Texas Tech action.
Pat did that for me.
Yeah.
Patty Longchuck's fixed that for me. So USC seems to be the one. I got to be the USC quarterback that comes out of the woodworks and saves the reputation that they had. I mean, who was the last really talented USC quarterback that actually played well in the NFL? Was it Carson?
Sam Darnold. What are you talking about, dog?
To be determined on that guy. But let's go with Carson Palmer or Sanchez. Really, if you think about it, Sanchez has been the best in probably the last. I wouldn't say last decade because Palmer has played in the last decade, but
better than John David Booty.
Oh yeah, John David Booty. Who was the? I'm thinking of the Alabama quarterback with the blonde hair. He had 3 names as well, but I'm blanking. I've been pretty upset. The guys that were doing those EA codes, and he was like posting all these old college players, and it was just these most random, obscure college players, and it was just so mad because it's like, just post one Bulldog, dude. Like, I got this, and I missed Dennis Dixon by 2 seconds earlier for an Xbox code.
Oh man, what was it? John Parker Wilson is the one you're thinking.
John Parker Wilson, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, dude, I missed Dennis Dixon. I missed Anthony Munoz by like 5 seconds. I was so mad. In fact, I was doing a video for Premier Madden League. I've been doing these things, and I don't know if I told you about it or if I just mentioned it, but what I'm going to be doing, at least in our league, probably for PML, is these detail videos, kind of like what Kobe and Peyton did. I'm not going to do full game. I'm going to watch the full game and then cut it up and then do like how they do, so probably like 9 minutes a game of just like in-depth talk about what he did, what he should have done, from not the game, not looking at the game and getting too broad from 2 players, but going, all right, Pest this week, he went in and he played, Danny's Ravens, smoke screen here. Danny's Ravens, he's got a big defense. He's got a mobile quarterback. Let's look at how Chris managed Lamar Jackson, and look at what you did right there, and then it'd be in depth. And I think I want to do those videos for the league. I think that'll be cool.
That idea, that'd be really cool for for just putting out content and honestly teaching guys who aren't as good too.
I think that's the point, because you made that point earlier about guys that are kind of at the bottom of the league that are losing and taking it like a man. Like, I would be infuriated if I went.
I could never do
9-7 or 8-8, just 9-7, dude. And I would be so embarrassed. I was embarrassed, and I went 10-6 and still won a division, and I was embarrassed in my worst season. So it was just like, dude, 7-9, 6-10 every year, not a chance I would be around. So credit to those dudes.
I've never missed the playoffs ever.
I haven't missed it 17
franchise.
Yeah, dude.
Like, if I ever miss the playoffs, I might quit. I don't know how I would take it.
Right. It's I mean, it does help that you're giving yourself the best squads every year, but that's either here or there. But I mean, yeah, it's tough, but those are the guys. So making them better makes you better, right? We've seen dudes that come out of nowhere and get sneak wins. And that happened in the PS4 league. Guys coming in and out of nowhere, just beating a dude, and then everybody thinks that they're like really, really good for a couple weeks, and then they start getting like beat down by the rest of the guys in the league and the mid-pack guys, and you're just like, shout out to Falcons in the PS4 league, bro. Like, Falcons was kind of a dude that I beat up in preseason every year. He was getting whipped around by the top teams, and then I played him in the regular season, and he beat me 17-15. So, like,
Same.
Sometimes you just have one of those days, but to get
Where you
those
get
guys
burger
better.
by shrimp.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna. We already praised Shrimp. Can we not give him two? But so what I was getting at was I was doing a video like that for the PlayStation League, but I was doing a full game recap of the Super Bowl, and then halfway through, the guy started tweeting the videos for codes, and I just like ditched the whole video. I'm like drinking. I almost like I drank a whole gulp and it went down the wrong pipe, so I almost spit it up all over my keyboard. And I'm literally like apologizing into the mic while the film's going. I'm like, my bad, guys. I got to get this. Where did we go? So it is what it is. So the last thing I want to talk about with you, we got about 15 more minutes here, is, you know, I always like to get you on. We're going to have our PML commish on, and I'd like to, maybe if we had a guy who commissioned another league too, maybe we get another one of the top guys on to talk a little bit about your preparation, because I think this is the time of year that makes or breaks a long-term league. You could sit up, like right now, we could get on Reddit, me and you right now could make the, Bad Kids Madden League, and we could fill out a 32-man league in 3.5 hours. That's not hard.
Oh,
that wouldn't be hard. Everybody can build your league, and you're going to see it, like, what do they say? And there are always something obscure on Reddit, it's like over 43 seasons worth of Madden. Like, okay, dude, but, long-term league. But then you wonder, like, when you're in that league and it's like week 9 and you're like, why does this league suck? And then why is it, why am I not engaged in it? And people don't realize that a lot of the engagement is content. A lot of the engagement is making sure it's handled right in these early phases. Your rule review, how do you do selection of team? How do you do selection of free agency and stuff like that? So I already know it, but I want you to go into detail on what we're doing different this year in terms of our team selection.
Yeah, so this was a big one for us. Last year, or what was it, 2 years ago, we combined 2 leagues together. And so a lot of the seniority stuff kind of went out the window, where you just say, this guy's been around forever. He gets to pick before the guy who's new. And then last year we had another group come in of, a solid 8 to 10 guys who they all played together in their leagues, and it folded. And, we had some openings, and they've just kind of like folded in one by one off the wait list. And they're all good people, and they're committed, and they love it just as much as we do. And so, to kind of throw them a bone and just to make things fair for everybody and to get kind of everyone on the same playing field, we've transitioned to this lotto system, like a lottery, where over the course of the year, you'll earn a certain number of lottery balls for the years that you've been in. So, you still throw a bone to those seniority guys that have been around forever. People that make content, people who are active and positive in chat, not causing issues, and then we've done a few competitions now over the last couple of months, one with the draft and another one with the NCAA tournament, things like that, just to keep people engaged during the off times. And so people can earn extra balls. And you're going to see that someone who's got, the most balls or top 5 is going to get screwed and pick somewhere around 15 or 20. And someone who has like somewhere around the bottom of the league in balls is going to get super lucky and pick in that same, 10, 15, 20 range. And it just throws in a lot of variability, and you just never know who's going to get to pick what. But that's kind of the draw of it. Is we've all been here. We all worked hard at it last year. We had such little turnover. And I'm looking forward to that again this year. We just like stacked up a wait list of 10 dudes and really never ate into it after Thanksgiving. I mean,
right.
So,
I think
that's the big thing for us. One other thing is when we're waiting for the rosters to come out. Once that spreadsheet comes out, it's going to be like a quick 2-day thing. We'll get a list of everybody, what's your favorite teams, and then we kind of keep a secret and assign everybody the highest ranked team on their list based on their lottery order. And then you can speak to the cool way that it's going to get sent out to everybody.
Yeah, man. I think it does a good job at making people want to get involved in the league. It isn't the biggest choice, but it is a big choice. And what they do on PML with their content, and PML is very content driven, is there's attributes awarded to you based on content, and it's not overbearing. But they turn down some of the XP sliders so that it's harder to just dev your guys through that, and then to get a couple attributes. And you have a cap that you can put. You can't cap more than like one person's trait more than 5 throughout the whole year. And you can't add some physical traits and stuff like that. So, there is some balancing there, but I've never really been a fan of that. I think that it's really unrealistic to expect 32 people to really actively engage in content, even if the whole goal of the league. So but that's just my opinion on it. Obviously JT has a very defined vision for his league, and it's a great league. It was really good. It was really refreshing to get into that league as my first PlayStation league, and I really expected it to really – I wouldn't say I expected it to go bad, but the Xbox league didn't even kick off for PML. So I was expecting a little bit more of the same, and it wasn't – the talent was super top-heavy, but the content wasn't just the top guys doing content. So it was really refreshing to see some of the bottom guys getting enjoyment out of doing, we had Rob on the podcast here. He's a bottom feeder. So it's really like exciting he's actually like a 11, 12 win team, but I'm just giving him shit now just because I know to it. But he beat me on a Hail Mary, our one head-to-head game. He literally he GG'd me in chat, was like, damn, man, I really lost that one. Good game, Finn. And then he threw a Hail Mary to Gronk. It went over his head, and Jarvis Landry caught it back in the end zone to win the game for him on like Josh Allen freak throw. So now he brags about it, knowing full well he already like admitted defeat. He white toweled it, jinxed me. But I think I like the lottery idea better in terms of encouraging folks to get into it. But the downside is when season 4 and 5 hit, it's going to be hard to keep that momentum for keeping engaged in the league and trying to make the league better. Because the only reward or benefit at that moment would be the team. And I'm not talking about so much criticizing Top Madden, more so would this apply to your league and how I think it could apply to your league. I think one of the biggest issues to keep guys in and out of league is one, getting, if you're a new league starting up, getting guys their favorite teams. That is probably the most important thing, I think, is if you really want to get guys that are into it, is get guys that it's their team that they get to manage, their boys, versus us where it's not too big of a deal because we've been around for almost 5 years.
Most people just rotate teams every year anyway.
Right, and try it out. But, not many leagues are like us. Most leagues are trying to fill 5 to 10 spots almost at all times in the league.
Yeah, the biggest key, and I've stressed this, within our CM group and the biggest thing is and this goes for any organization, not even just Madden, but just being a leader in general and having people that are, in your organization, is you want to build ownership, whether or not those people get to actually make decisions into how everything runs. You want them to be committed and have some sense of this is mine, And so one way to do that, like you said, is to give people their favorite team, because then that team is mine and they get to control it the way they like to. Or for us, it's the content. It's given people, we created that content team. We have the trade committee. We have people that are putting out their own stuff like power rankings and things. And so those things, along with just the yearly reset of, all right, well, I guess I need, I'm going to keep playing because it affects how it's going to be next year. Those types of things to really keep everybody engaged is the way that you make it work and you keep it to last.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things I wanted to shout out about PML, getting away from the lottery and the content, is one of the rule changes, the way they handle rule changes. And it's something I've considered asking to do in top, but I like the top rules. So most of the time I like it in PML because then I get to just implement the rules that I like from top into the league as much as I can. But they do an owners meeting. They do an owners meeting every year at the end of the year. They have an open forum where you can suggest, you throw in suggestions, and then it gets if it gets enough activity on it, you're like, hey, I want, you have to go for 2 points every time. I don't know. Something bullshit. Right. Sometimes they're lame. Sometimes it's by somebody who doesn't understand why those rules exist. And then sometimes it's a legitimate rule. Playmaker was a big one for PML. Did never get changed, but we constantly bickered over that. But then they take it, and then you throw it in. After that, he has a voting poll that gets set up. If it's a clear out yes or no, and the rules favor, it goes with that. If it's 50-50 and it's really split, he tables it for a season, and you bring it back at the end of the next season, that way. And the reason why I wanted to bring that into top a little bit, or maybe a version of that, is because it's not just like, oh, this rule passed by one vote, so we're going to change it. And then you get a lot of flipping and angry folks. Like, you're taking rules that are heavily, heavily approved by folks in the league and approving them, and heavily declined by folks in the league, and go. And I felt like the one reason I haven't stressed that too much is because you guys are all very fair. You guys as a CM group are all really fair. JT's on his own, and he manages all of those things and the database and the website and all these things. So I could see how, like, he is using the league's input to help manage in a smart way, whereas you guys have like 5 minds. Not only that, whenever you guys do introduce a rule, like you did do the rule before with player movement or 4th down rules, you were pretty receptive after I bitched in your DMs for about an hour and a half, and at least modified it. So, but is there any rules that you guys were changing? Very specifically, one that I was wondering is that moving people before the line of scrimmage rule. I think now more than ever it might be important to address because of the RPOs, because it might be really important to be able to move folks around. What are y'all thoughts on that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is throughout the course of Madden 19, we have discussions of things that we might want to see changed for Madden 20, and so we have a list of discussions that we kind of table, like you said, and hold on to them. And we started to go through them here recently. We still got about 6 weeks until the game comes out. We're going to get our first little sneak peek, this weekend, and then once access comes out, that's hardcore testing time. But a lot of those rules, especially the one you mentioned. That was in response to the meta of Madden 19, which is you just stack the box, no one can run, and then the defenders still get back to cover the pass too. And it's just not realistic. It's not immersive. It's not sim. It's just not the way that football should go. And we try to keep things away from that as much as possible because you want to give people creativity to play how they like. But things like that are kind of game breaking, you have to kind of jump a rule into. So I'm all for letting it go and like not keeping it, but it totally just depends how the game plays. If it plays like last year, then we'll have to keep the rule. If it plays a little different and you get beat deep when you bring a safety in the box, then I don't need it. I'm fine with you want to bring that in the box and get thrown on, then that's fine. That's
right. And I think that kind of goes down. It may be heavily affected, like we said about the X Factor stuff, like we said earlier, like that. I think that's going to change the ability to just sit in your standalone everything. These new one I think is the most underrated star ability I've seen is the running backs winning one contested catches 1-on-1. It's called Matchup Nightmare is what it's called. I know Kamara's got it. I'm expecting guys like maybe like Theoretic and other Le'Veon Bell and those kind of guys to have it. Screw your whole 4-5 base defense thing the whole time, but the issue is how much does those affect zone versus man? Like, is he just going to jump in front of the route and it doesn't matter about a contested catch because he jumped the route or whatever? But anyways, it's getting off topic. I definitely think that you guys have been pretty receptive, but I do think that's important to stress because that's why I was asking you these questions. It's like if I'm trying to start my own CFM, what do I need to stress around this time? And it's like getting a rule set that isn't too restricting, isn't too cookie cutter. That's been my complaint. For some very strict rule sets is that it just leads teams to be very cookie cutter. Top Madden's notoriously anal on mobile quarterbacks. Well, this is the game where you guys are going to you're going to be tested. We were tested last year too. And this year it's not going to be any different. People being able to pull the ball down and run. It's going to really encourage the hike and haul type shit. So we're going to have to watch out for it and see how the game treats it. And if it's too OP and game breaking and all that kind of stuff, talk about skill gap, but there's a difference between skill gap and just the game not playing like football should. So we'll watch out for that kind of stuff. You mentioned, taking in league feedback, and we did that last year. If you remember, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we did like a mid-year review and sent it out like a survey to the whole league. Everybody got to put in their answers of, rate this and that. Tell us how you think the commissions are doing. What do you think is good about the league? What do you think is bad? What kind of rules would you want to see? And so there were certain things I can't remember off the top of my head, but that, were very repetitive of suggestions. Like, 8 or 9 people suggest the same thing on an open forum, like a fill in the blank. Then those are things that, we should probably consider. So, and that's what it was the stack in the box thing. And that's where that rule came from. Mm-hmm. And so actually, not to jump the gun, but we
we put together another survey today that was going to get sent out today. We're going to wait to see what happens with this basketball game because of Sunday being when we're doing the lottery.
Okay.
But another survey is going to come out tomorrow just to see, preliminarily, what are some things that you hated about last Madden? What are some things you really loved? How optimistic are you that this game's going to come out well? What are some things that you want to see change? Just open forum. Tell us whatever you want. It's anonymous. So it's like you can say the commissions suck and then the commissions, retaliate against you. It's going to be totally because we don't want that. We just want honest feedback because what's most important to us is keeping the thing running, and to keep the thing running, you got to keep everybody happy. And there's 32 personalities, and everybody wants to see something a little different, but you got to find, the common ground.
Right. That's why I wanted to have you on, man, is that there are a lot of folks around this time of year that are outside of the league that really listen to the podcast, your league, our league at PML. So I think it was important for folks to kind of realize, like, you see the thought and structure that's going into top on Xbox, and then PML, we've talked about it a ton. There's so much thought that goes into PML on PlayStation. And I think the biggest thing is these CMs, aren't out here looking to win at all cost. Pest is looking to win. He's not looking to win at all cost, okay?
I'm looking to win because I'm just going to beat you.
Unless he has Des Bryant. If he has Des Bryant, make him keep him. Do not trade him your high second-round amazing receiver. But I wanted to get you on it and let you kind of harp about all the planning, because it's important. If you're getting into a league and you don't feel like your CM treats this as almost a part-time job, I don't think it's going to be an immersive league. And yes, if you enjoy a league like that, you should be stepping in and doing what you can to take some of that workload. Do some content, volunteer to help out with planning, the lotto, the team reveal, all those things that, spend a lot of time on these things, but in the long run, it's just one less thing you have to worry about. And that's a good thing that PML does, is you have so many guys that are in there that are helpful. So thanks to all the dudes, Patriots, Nefarious, I'm going to call some of the PML guys here. Raiders does a lot of content. Vikings for keeping the chat a constant train wreck. This dude's the biggest troll I have ever. I mean, there's Lynx and then there's him. He's like, they're right next to each other. All the guys that do the videos, SGO, retweet. Man, I know I'm going to get in a bad spot by forgetting somebody here, but there's just a ton of dudes that do a ton of content for that league. So, and that really keeps it going. So it's really important that people know this. You can't just start a league right now. And expect it to have success. You're going to have to really put in the effort. Make sure you have a team of guys, unless you're like JT and you can script everything. And my final thing, if you want to have a successful CFM, I'm going to give you a second to think about what your final point is. What is the most important thing to having a successful 32-man online CFM is do not, under any circumstances, fantasy draft. Don't fucking do it. Don't think about doing it.
Dies after a season every time.
Don't entertain it. Don't think it's going to be fun and that you're going to get Tyreek Hill and John Ross. There's 9 people that also want those players, and it's going to be a fucking train wreck. Do not fantasy draft under censorship. Do you have another one? Because I think that is the biggest no-no in online CFM, this fantasy draft.
It's so bad. Trades, man. Trades ruin leagues. Just like fantasy draft, same reasons that fantasy drafts ruin leagues, trades ruin leagues. I'm all for customization and letting everybody do, kind of what they want to do. I'm a little more lenient than some of the other guys, but like, if you let someone just steal Tyreek Hill for nothing and create some kind of imbalance, then 1, no one's going to want the Chiefs, and 2, the team that he got traded to is going to be super OP, and it's not going to be fun. Everyone loses interest when teams get too crazy. So I think that outside of what we already said, is just it's all about the preparation, man. I think I spent like 30 hours of gameplay before we started the league last year, just testing, how do trades work? How does the draft work? How does progression work? Training, every little aspect of the game. We spent so much time testing out so that we didn't have to change our sliders halfway through. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Sports Gamers Online. SGO did a good job with XP sliders, so we were able to take some of their stuff and we made a couple of little tweaks here and there. But these leagues that are really well run, and shout out to y'all's league on PlayStation as well. I mean, if Finn likes y'all, I trust his judgment. You guys must be doing it right, and so respect for that.
I bought a whole ass PlayStation.
Yeah,
I missed the first season because I wanted to scout it and kind of like live in their chat and just kind of see what it was like. So, yeah, the fact that I went and got a whole console that I haven't owned since Madden 2008, it speaks volumes because I wouldn't waste the money.
yeah, man. We take it super seriously. It sounds like they do too. Quick shout out to Ty and Danny and Wout and Corey, my other commish group that works with me, and they work hard and do a great job. And it takes a lot, and I think the appreciation's there from the guys in the league, but sometimes you see people like, fuck the commissioners, they're being mean to me or whatever, and it's really not that. It all comes down to putting the league first and, letting that ego go, because it's not going to work if everyone's just stressing all the time and not thinking about the league.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. I think you nail on the head. Hammer on the head? I don't even know. But I know you got to get out of here, so I'll let you go. Thanks for stopping on the show, man. It's good to talk to you again.
Hell yeah, Finn. Thanks, man. Catch you later.
For sure. Can't wait for you to be Chiefs in Top Madden.